You're being terrible. Why? Why are you doing this? I told you before I don't want to live with you. I want the leech of a wife living off dad to get out. Leeching? You really think that? Well, isn't it true? The only reason you can live here without working is because dad earns the money. You can't even do the housework properly. You're nothing but a parasite. Sally's harsh words were too much for me to bear. I didn't have the energy to explain the situation, and I realized I didn't need to endure living with someone who could say such things. So you think we can't live together? That's my line. All right, I understand. I'll leave. After finishing my shopping, I went to change into my casual clothes in the room I shared with Ken. But what I saw next was shocking. There was not a single item of mine in the room. Not my clothes, not my bags, not even a single piece of underwear. What's going on? Unable to comprehend, I stood dumbfounded, scanning the room. The room wasn't ransacked. Ken's belongings were untouched, but mine were completely gone. Could it be that it wasn't a burglary? I needed to ask Sally, who was home while I was out. Thinking this, I knocked on Sally's door. Need something? Sally appeared, her face showing clear annoyance. Hey Sally, I can't find any of my stuff. Do you know anything about it? All my things are gone. All of that. I got rid of everything for you. Sally's grin was unsettlingly eerie. I am Maria, originally working in sales, but I quit after getting married. I met Ken, my husband, through a friend when I was 37. He was 8 years younger than me, but he was bright and full of conversation topics. We hit it off right away. A few months into our relationship, Ken spoke to me seriously. There's something I need to tell you, Maria. What's up? Well, I have a daughter. It was unexpected. At the time, Ken was 29. When I was 29, I was fully engrossed in work, with no time for men. To think that someone his age already had a child was shocking. I managed to ask, Really? How old is she? She just turned 11. 11? So that means she was born when I was 18. I was reeling from the revelation. I tried desperately to hear Ken's words. Ken explained that he married his high school girlfriend after she got pregnant. His ex-wife dropped out of college to start their life together, but being young, she left him and their daughter to enjoy her life. I'm sorry for bringing this up now, but as I started thinking about our future, I couldn't keep it a secret. Yeah, I'm shocked. I know, but I want to be with you, Maria. I want us to be a family, so I had to be honest. His confession left me unsettled. At this age, I had just started dating again. Though unspoken, marriage was on my mind. But to think that my partner was divorced and had a child. If I broke up with Ken now, I might never get married. As I replayed Ken's words in my mind, I was contemplating my life's crossroads. Maria, I want to marry you. I know I've suddenly dropped a lot on you and you might be confused, but I want you to think about it seriously. Ken looked at me intently, making me realize I was at a turning point in my life. 7 years after Ken's confession, I was living with him and my stepdaughter, Sally. Sally, aspiring to be a doctor, had just started her first year in medical school. Ken always boasted about how proud he was of her. He's always had a soft spot for Sally, maybe out of guilt for her growing up without a mother, but it was excessive. He bought her anything she wanted, and she grew up without learning patience or restraint. I tried to instill basic decency in Sally, but it seemed to be nothing but an annoyance to her. She lashed out at me, saying, "Don't act all high and mighty just because you're older." That moment, I felt it was all so foolish. I decided to stop going out of my way for Sally. I resolved to only do the bare minimum for her from then on. One weekday, as usual, I prepared breakfast for the three of us and set the table. Ken started eating as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Sally took a bite, let out an exaggerated sigh, and commented, "Maria, you really never get any better at cooking, do you? I thought this again lately." She had been especially critical of everything I did. "I wish you'd understand what it's like to eat something this bad every day," she said and stormed out of the living room. Ken just continued eating silently. I couldn't tell if he was listening or just ignoring everything. In moments like this, Ken never stood up for me. I had no allies, but I didn't particularly feel sad about it. I realized there was no need for me to go out of my way for people who didn't care about me. It wasn't just bravado, that's genuinely how I felt. While Sally's lack of common sense was troubling, there was another issue that bothered me: Ken's extravagant spending habits. Besides spoiling Sally, Ken loved buying expensive items like bags, shoes, and watches. He seemed to want anything that was considered high-end. Whenever he ran out of money, he would pester me for it. "Maria, I need you to come up with $1,000 by tomorrow." Again, "This is the second time this month. I told you to manage your spending, cut it out. This is how I relieve stress, just get the money. I won't give you any more money, it doesn't grow on trees." After I'd admonished him, Ken would gulp down his beer. "You wouldn't understand the pressures of working outside. You're just a homemaker." "That's not fair, I have my struggles too. There are no breaks in housework, and neither you nor Sally ever help." Then Ken would slam the table, echoing through the living room. "Shut up. A leisurely wife should just listen to her husband and get the money ready." Shouted down and intimidated by Ken's sudden outburst, I cowered in defense. An empty beer can was thrown at me, nearly hitting my shoulder. Ken often becomes aggressive when something doesn't go his way, especially when he's been drinking. I remember he once raised his hand to me during a similar argument, and since then I decided to avoid contradicting him as much as possible. "Fine. I can't get $1,000, but I'll figure something out. Just stop threatening me like this." "Good, you should understand that from the start." "Don't oppose me," he grumbled, opening another beer. I wondered why I was still in this place. The meaning of continuing as a family after being treated like this was becoming unclear to me. One day, Sally came home early as her afternoon class was canceled. But even then, we didn't really spend time together. She stayed in her room and didn't come out. I remembered I needed to go shopping as the fridge was almost empty. It's easy to just get takeout when it's just me, but not with a family. With a sigh, I got up to do the grocery shopping. About an hour later, after finishing shopping and storing the groceries, I headed to change into my casual clothes in the room I shared with Ken. That's when I was confronted with a shocking scene. Not a single item of mine was in the room. Not my clothes, not my bags, not even a single piece of underwear. What's going on? I couldn't understand the situation and just stood there dumbfounded. The room wasn't ransacked. Ken's belongings were still there, but all of mine were gone. It couldn't be a burglary, could it? I decided to ask Sally, who was home while I was out. I knocked on her door. "Need something?" Sally asked, her face appearing slightly through the door gap, looking displeased. "Hey Sally, I can't find any of my stuff. Do you know anything about it? All my things are gone." "Oh, that. I took care of it," she said with a creepy smile. "Took care of it? What do you mean?" "I don't want to live with you anymore, so I made it easy for you to move out by getting rid of your stuff." "Are you telling me to leave the house?" "Don't put it that way. Living with a stepdaughter you're not related to must be stressful, right? Think of it as a choice for both of us to be free." I couldn't understand Sally's extreme actions, doing all this supposedly for my sake. Even if her logic was somehow acceptable, she had no right to throw away my belongings. There were many important things in those bags. "Where did you throw them?" "They're out by the back door. I arranged for a waste collection service, so if they haven't come yet, you might find them there." In a panic, I rushed out back. Fortunately, the collection service hadn't arrived yet, and my belongings were piled up in several trash bags. I retrieved them and went back to confront Sally. "You're doing something terrible. Why are you doing this?" "Like I said, I don't want to live with you. I want the leech of a wife living off Dad to leave." "Leeching? You really think that? Isn't it true? The only reason you can live here is because of the money Dad makes. You can't even do much housework. You're nothing but a parasite." I had no energy left to explain the situation to Sally, who was only spouting such cruel words. There was no need to endure and live with someone capable of doing this. "Can't live together, that's my line." "All right, I understand, I'll leave." Hearing my words, Sally's expression suddenly brightened. Great. Honestly, I thought you'd put up more of a fight, but I'm glad you accepted it so easily. Serves you right, old lady. I had been tolerating everything because we were family, but now it just seemed foolish. Staying with these people was a waste of time. Fortunately or unfortunately, Sally's actions had saved me the trouble of packing. I decided to leave the house that very day. After leaving, I never heard from Ken. Normally you'd expect at least a phone call, but his silence was proof enough that he had no intention of fixing our relationship. I didn't reach out to Ken or Sally either. I was relishing the freedom to use my time solely for myself. Since my parents' home was far away and I wasn't officially divorced yet, returning there with all my luggage wasn't practical. So I rented a monthly apartment near the nearest train station and started living there. About 6 months later, my smartphone rang. It was Sally's name on the display. I ignored it at first, but she kept calling repeatedly, so I finally gave in and answered. "What do you want? It's annoying you keep calling." "You finally answered. I knew you weren't ignoring me." Sally's screeching voice burst through the phone, making me pull it away from my ear. "I can hear you fine. You don't need to shout. After all this time, what do you want now?" "It's urgent. Today the university told me my tuition hasn't been paid. If I don't pay by the deadline, I won't be able to advance to the next year." "Why didn't you handle it yourself? Ask your dad for it." "Dad's busy with work on weekdays. Handling payments like this is your job. He gives you the money to transfer. How dare you cause me trouble by not doing what you're supposed to?" Even in this situation, Ken hadn't told Sally the truth. Astonished, I decided to tell her the real story. "Listen, the tuition was never paid by your dad." "What? What do you mean?" "It was me paying, but after the way you treated me and since we're not living together anymore, I don't see why I should spend money on you. I have no plans to pay for anything in the future." Sally was silent for a moment after hearing this, then burst out laughing. "I thought you'd say something like that. As if a homemaker like you could afford medical school tuition. You must have just misused the money Dad gave you and are making excuses. Think what you want, but if you truly believe Ken is paying, talk to him about making the payment. These days you don't even need to go to the bank. You can transfer online." "Still lying. You'll just embarrass yourself. Just apologize honestly and I might forgive you." I was almost impressed by her audacity, even at the risk of her academic advancement. "This is an extremely shameless act. I've only told you the truth." "Shameless woman. I'll confirm with Dad. That's enough. Getting rid of a wicked woman like you was the right choice." Sally said her piece and hung up. Would Ken ever tell his daughter the truth? Their fate didn't concern me, but I hoped they wouldn't bother me again. One day, while working on my computer, Sally called again. It had been about 2 weeks since our last conversation. "Dad really didn't pay for my tuition?" "Of course, I was the one paying. Maybe he wanted to impress his daughter, but you were just a homemaker. How could you afford medical school tuition?" "I wasn't just a homemaker." Sally gasped, then said in a small voice, "What?" "I told you before, I work from home." "That's a lie. I never heard that. You just never listened, or did you think my words weren't worth your attention?" "That's impossible. You just forgot to tell me." As Sally struggled with excuses, I continued, "I'm a programmer. I can work as long as I have my computer, and I was in it even before I got married. I have plenty of job offers." "A programmer? That's a job you can't do without special knowledge. If you're going to make something up, at least tell a more believable lie." "I told you I used to work for an IT company. Being in sales, I had to have some basic knowledge, and I didn't start from zero. Turns out the meticulous work of programming suits me well. I'm quite good at it, actually." "That can't be. I always thought of you as a parasite living off Dad's income." "That's your dad, Ken, not me. He spent all his salary and never really contributed to the household expenses." I could almost see the shocked expression on Sally's face. She must be overwhelmed to learn that everything she believed was false. "I was the one paying for your tuition, groceries, utilities, and all other living expenses. Dad never contributed financially to the household." "Then what was he spending his earnings on?" I don't know, he never told me, but he definitely used it all for himself. And yet, he hasn't contacted me since I left. How's he managing? How? It's the same as before you left. You might want to check that. If Ken continues spending money like he used to, he'll go bankrupt soon. You won't have the luxury to go to college then. After a feint, that can't be, Sally hung up. Maybe it was harsh to discuss such things with my stepdaughter, but I stopped myself from feeling too sympathetic. Sally is 18, an adult. It's time she learns not to hurt others for her own sake. I returned to my computer work. A few days after telling Sally the truth, Ken called. It was the first time he reached out since I left the house over half a year ago. What did you tell Sally? Just the truth, that I was the one paying for all the living expenses. You shouldn't have done that. Now Sally's calling me a liar. She won't even talk to me properly since then. It's all your fault. His selfishness left me sighing. The root of the problem is your reckless spending. You made me cover all living expenses and turn to me for more money when yours ran out. How can you say such things? Shut up. Supporting a working husband is a wife's duty. Contribute even a penny to household expenses before you say that. You have no right to criticize when you only spend on your own pleasures. Hey, is that all you wanted to say? I'm hanging up. It's a waste of time. Wait a minute. Ken's tone changed from brash to desperate. I've been struggling financially since you left. If you apologize now, I'll forgive you. Come back home. I was speechless at his continued arrogance. Even in desperation, he's only thinking about himself. When I remained silent, Ken continued speaking on his own. I can't live the same life as before with just what I earn. I'm in debt, but I have no hope of paying it back. If you come back, everything will be back to normal. So please, come back. You're lonely too, aren't you? Unbelievable. Your salary wasn't even that bad, and you're in debt now, still spending recklessly. I have my reasons. I can't just change how I spend money overnight. Right? You can't let down the girls at the nightclubs, can you? What? Ken's reaction was more stupid than I expected, and I almost burst out laughing. Ken's stunned reaction almost made me laugh. He thought he had hidden it well. I know about you frequenting nightclubs and promising one of the girls a lavish lifestyle after divorcing me. How did you find out about that? I have dealings with your company through my work. One of your colleagues, who's in charge, told me. There were rumors in the office about your affairs, so they thought I should know. Damn it, who told you that? I got curious, so I hired a detective to investigate. The evidence just kept piling up: fine dining, buying designer bags and jewelry. With all that spending, no wonder your salary vanished. Ken fell silent, probably not expecting me to find out, let alone that it had become office gossip. It became a rumor within the company. That meant that everything was poorly planned. There are also rumors about your ex-wife. What do you mean? The reason for your divorce. You told me she left because she wanted to enjoy her life. But the rumor is that it was due to your infidelity. What? That rumor's spreading too. Is that an admission? Well, I don't have proof, but I can't trust a single thing about you anymore. I want a divorce. Ken yelled about not accepting a divorce and me returning home, but he never apologized. Even if he had, I had no intention of going back to that house. I was thoroughly disappointed in his selfishness. When I threatened legal action, he finally agreed to the divorce. I'm finally free. I felt liberated. The divorce from Ken was finalized. My lawyer was exceptional and went the extra mile to make Ken feel the pain. I had recorded Ken's wastefulness and violence and Sally's verbal abuse. Based on that, we demanded a substantial alimony, which he paid in full. The lawyer even talked to the nightclub girl Ken was involved with, promising not to sue her if she told the truth. Ken's financial contributions to her over the years came to light. This led to him being banned from the nightclub and losing contact with the girl he'd been showering with gifts. His bad spending habits continued, and his debts ballooned to unmanageable levels. As for Sally, she had to drop out of college since Ken couldn't pay the tuition. Her pride as a former medical student made her look down on jobs, leading to repeated rejections. If they valued family, their lives might have been stable, but now they face the consequences. As for me, my work is going great. I love having the freedom to spend my time and money as I please. I'm not big on material things, but I do enjoy treating myself. I savor good wine on the eve of my days off, dine at fine restaurants, and have a solo trip abroad in the works. If I find a partner again, I hope it's someone who values mutual respect. That's how I'm enjoying my single life now.